Well, a team of deep-sea explorers have discovered something similar deep in the Pacific Ocean. A spooky golden egg. It's not really magical, but it's certainly mysterious.
It started on August 30th, 2023. A deep-sea drone, nearly 2 miles below the Gulf of Alaska, captured something terrifying. A smooth golden orb with a clean hole punched through its side, like something had carved its way out. It looked alive, but it wasn't anything known to us. And just as quickly as it appeared, it vanished from the news. But that wasn't the end of it. The deeper we go, the stranger the discoveries. Alien-like creatures, footage that defies logic, and a spring so deadly, every diver who entered never came back. The honey hole has cracked open its vault, and what this drone captured inside are things we were never meant to see. Number 15, found in the hole, the golden orb that shouldn't exist. Just a year after scientists warned that Earth still holds unimaginable secrets, a NOAA exploration drone was dispatched off the coast of Alaska. At nearly 9,843 feet below the surface, it was scanning the seafloor when something strange entered the frame. A golden orb, smooth and gleaming under the drone's lights. There were no barnacles, no jagged edges, just one clean circular hole near its base, like something had burrowed in or out. Back on the ship, scientists watched in silence. Some thought it looked metallic. Others swore it pulsed, almost like it was breathing. Anyway, with careful precision, the team used the drone's mechanical arm to retrieve the object and bring it aboard. They tried to classify it, but no one could. It wasn't coral, nor was it a sponge, and it didn't match any known marine species. One of the biologists said it looked like an egg. But an egg from what? When the footage was released to the public, theories flooded in. Some suggested it was alien, a dormant pod sent from another world. Others believed it belonged to a deep-sea species we've never encountered before. A few even claimed it resembled ancient bioarmor, the remains of some forgotten civilization swallowed by the ocean long ago. But here's the most disturbing theory of all. What if whatever was inside is already out? It could be out there right now doing who knows what, or searching for something we can't even begin to imagine. But whatever it is, it sure didn't leave that orb behind by accident. Number 14. The jellyfish that moved like smoke. There's something different about watching drone footage at sea. It feels like time stretches when there's nothing but darkness, pressure, and silence thousands of feet below you. This particular video was shot near an oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico, sometime in 2012. The rig's underwater camera had picked up something drifting toward it, and at first, it looked like a torn sheet or parachute, gently curling and uncurling in the current. But then it moved. Its movement was nothing like anything organic, really. It twisted in on itself, like smoke made flesh. The thing circled the rig once, then hovered. Could it be watching? The thing had no eyes, but somehow it felt aware, like it was thinking. Scientists would later identify it as Deepsteria enigmatica, a rare deep-sea jellyfish almost never caught on camera. But this wasn't some delicate, glowing thing floating through the abyss. No. This was a massive, shapeless creature with visible internal structures, almost like veins or nerves. And while they say it's harmless, we can't be so sure. To this day, no one knows why it showed up there, in shallower water, alone and curious. Or if it's come back since. But watching the footage, you'd swear it wasn't just passing by. Number 13. Turkmenistan's fiery gates of hell.
Good morning, guys. It's 4:45 a.m. and I just woke up to come see the fire pit under the black sky.
The past can resurface in bone and ash, but sometimes it refuses to die quietly. In the Karakum Desert of Turkmenistan, there's a pit that's been burning for more than 50 years. Locals call it the door to hell, a name that doesn't feel like an exaggeration when you stand at the edge of it. Others just call it cursed. It started in 1979. Soviet engineers were drilling for natural gas when the ground gave way beneath them, and an entire rig was swallowed by the earth and releasing toxic gas. Fearing disaster, the scientists made a bold decision by setting it on fire. They believed that with this, the gas would burn off in a few days. But days turned into weeks, weeks into decades, and the fire never went out. Today, the crater roars with flames 230 feet wide. It casts an eerie glow that can be seen from miles away in the middle of the desert. Tourists even report a strange hum in the air and a heat that seems almost sentient. Some believe this wasn't a miscalculation, but a cover-up of a dig gone wrong. That they found something they weren't meant to find and fire was the only way to seal it. Regardless, whatever burns down there hasn't stopped, and it hasn't let go. Number 12. The mysterious object that fell from the sky. And while the fires of hell might burn beneath our feet, the sky above isn't stingy with its mysteries as well. On a quiet farm in Saskatchewan, Canada, the Thiessen family was doing what they'd done for decades, tending to the land, watching the wheat, fixing the fences. Until one morning, they noticed something new lying in the grass. It was a large, charred object, nearly 5 feet tall, sticking out of the earth like it had crash-landed there. At first glance, it looked like trash. It was burned, twisted, and partially hollow. But when they tried to lift it, the truth became heavier. The structure, about 99 pounds of carbon fiber and metal, wasn't just heavy, it screamed wrongness. Experts would later suggest it may have come from a deorbiting satellite, possibly even a SpaceX capsule, but there were no clear markings, no official warnings, and no agency arrived to claim it. The Canadian Space Agency admitted that space debris sometimes survives re-entry, but they couldn't say with certainty what this was or why it landed here, and no one ever came to take it back. Number 11. The FC Dion Spring. When space debris falls to Earth, we scramble to identify it. But in a quiet French town, there's something ancient hiding beneath the ground, and nobody has mapped it, survived it, or explained it. That is the turquoise spring called FC Dion in Tonnerre, France, where locals have drawn water from for centuries. But this spring is anything but ordinary. No one knows exactly where the water comes from. It emerges from an underwater cave system that appears bottomless, and efforts to have it mapped have failed violently. In 1974, a diver tried to reach its source and drowned. Also, in 1996, another diver died attempting the same. That sealed the deal for the French officials, causing them to ban anyone from diving the spring. And that should have been the end of the story. But in 2019, with updated equipment and new safety protocols, diver Pierre-Éric Dessain got permission to try again. This time, he was able to reach 230 feet deep before the visibility he had disappeared, and the passage narrowed. Luckily, he came back alive, but even then, he couldn't reach the source. Some believe the spring connects to a massive underground network that is too complex, too unstable, or too dangerous to explore. Others, especially locals, whisper that it's something older, like a passage to the underworld, or a natural barrier we were never meant to cross. Whatever's at the bottom of FC Dion, it's never let anyone get close, and the deeper we try to go, the more the Earth pushes back. Number 10. The Texas cave that breathes bats. Meanwhile, in Texas, the mystery lies above. The Bracken Cave, just outside San Antonio, isn't much to look at during the day. But at dusk, everything changes. The ground begins to stir, and from that unassuming cave mouth, over 13 million Mexican free-tailed bats pour out like a living cloud. It can last for hours. The swarm stretches for miles. Radar systems often mistake it for weather. The sheer volume is staggering. Locals say it feels like the Earth is exhaling. Scientists say it's the largest bat colony in the world, and one of the densest concentrations of mammals ever recorded. Each summer evening, they fly out to feed on insects, devouring thousands of pounds of bugs in a single night. But some nights, something feels off. Tourists report sudden, eerie silences, swarms that turn back too soon, patterns in the sky that look too coordinated, like something spooked them. The bats always return before dawn, but the cave holds their secrets tight. Nobody knows exactly why Bracken Cave became the bat capital of the world, or how long it will stay that way. Number 9. The Rat King in a Russian field. In 2021, a farmer in Stavropol, southern Russia, walked into his watermelon field and stopped cold. Lying in the dirt was a tangled mass of rats, dozens of them, all alive, all writhing, their tails knotted together into a single clump, not by rope or wire, but by their own filth, blood, frostbite, and desperation. This wasn't due to a man-made trap or anything of such. He'd stumbled upon something straight out of folklore, a rat king. This is one of nature's most disturbing and mysterious phenomena. This is when rats, often trapped in cramped quarters or cold environments, get their tails stuck together by sticky substances, wounds, or freezing temperatures. Over time, the tails knot tighter, making separation impossible. In the wild, most don't survive, but some do for a while. The video went viral. The rats writhed and squeaked in agony, moving as one miserable mass. People called it a bad omen, and historically, they weren't wrong. In 16th century Europe, rat kings were seen as harbingers of plague and death, often discovered in barns or homes right before outbreaks of disease. Scientists still debate whether they're natural accidents or exaggerated hoaxes. But what that farmer saw and what the world watched on video was real. The video showed them struggling, panicked, and moving as one. Once tangled, they can't separate without dying. They survive as a unit, feeding together, suffering together. Number 8. Africa is splitting in two. Talking about bad omens, strange things have been happening in Africa. In 2018, after heavy rainfall in Kenya, a massive crack appeared in the ground, nearly 50 feet deep and 65 feet wide. It sliced through a busy highway and even swallowed part of a home. At first, people thought it was just erosion, but geologists quickly stepped in, and what they found wasn't ordinary. The crack aligned with a major tectonic boundary and could be evidence of Africa slowly tearing itself apart. Scientists have long known that the East African Rift is active. It runs thousands of miles from Ethiopia down to Mozambique. And over millions of years, the tectonic plates beneath it have been drifting apart. But no one expected to see these visible signs emerge so suddenly. The crack wasn't a one-off thing. Similar rifts have opened across Ethiopia, Uganda, and Tanzania. And in some areas, volcanic activity and thin crust suggest that a new ocean is forming, right in the heart of the continent. Experts estimate that in 5 to 10 million years, Africa will split, creating a new sea between Somalia and the rest of the continent. But the surface cracks today are reminders that this isn't just a distant theory, but a process already in motion. The planet is shifting, and this time, we're watching it happen in real time. Number 7. The Dead Sea is collapsing from beneath. More so, in the last few decades, the Dead Sea has been shrinking, and the land around it is falling apart. The Dead Sea has always been a place of extremes, the saltiest body of water on Earth, so dense you can float without effort, and steeped in history dating back to biblical times. But now, the sea is vanishing. Over the past few decades, the water level has been dropping by more than a meter every year. Today, it's about 98 feet lower than it was back in the 1970s. And it is because the Jordan River, the sea's main water source, has been heavily diverted for agriculture and industry by neighboring countries. Rainfall has declined, evaporation has increased, and with the water retreating, the land is collapsing. Sinkholes that were once rare are now everywhere. More than 7,000 have been recorded across Israel and Jordan. Some are shallow, others plunge dozens of feet deep, swallowing roads, date palm groves, campgrounds, and even whole buildings. One resort town had to be evacuated after a sinkhole devoured its main road overnight. And the culprit is salt, or more accurately, the disappearance of salt. As the sea recedes, underground salt layers that once sat beneath stable soil are exposed to freshwater runoff. This causes the salt to dissolve and the ground to start caving in. And what once was a stable earth becomes a ticking time bomb of a fragile shell, ready to collapse without warning. Tourists used to flock to the Dead Sea's beaches and resorts, but now whole areas are abandoned. Picnic tables sit next to deep craters, and parking lots are cracked open like eggshells. It's one of the clearest, quietest signs of environmental collapse, and it's swallowing the shoreline piece by piece. Number 6. The 2.8 billion-year-old mystery spheres. After watching the land swallow itself at the Dead Sea, let's travel far back, not just in space, but in time, to South Africa, where workers unearthed a series of small metallic spheres deep inside a mine in Klerksdorp. These metallic spheres look perfectly rounded, with faint grooves etched around their middles. They look manufactured. But here's the catch. Scientists estimate that they are from 2.8 billion years ago. That's long before humans, before dinosaurs even. And yet, the spheres are so hard, they can't be scratched with steel. Some have a fibrous inner core and a thin, distinct outer shell, unlike any known natural formation. Geologists call them mineral concretions, formed over time by natural processes. But none can explain the precise grooves or how nature could shape something so symmetrical, so ancient. Some even claimed the Klerksdorp spheres could move on their own. The story goes that in a museum display case, one of the spheres slowly rotated without any external force. But Rolf Marx, the museum curator often quoted in these tales, later clarified that the movement wasn't supernatural. It was caused by distant mining blasts, shaking the building ever so slightly. Still, the myth lingers because there's something undeniably eerie about an object that seems to respond, even when no one touches it. Were they left by a prehistoric civilization? Are they alien relics? Or is nature simply far more meticulous than we imagine? No two experts can agree. The spheres remain locked in a museum, too strange to ignore, too unexplained to classify. Number 5. The 10 million-year-old teeth that shook science. In 2016, Archaeologists digging near the Rhine River in Eppelsheim, Germany, unearthed something completely unexpected: two fossilized teeth embedded in ancient sediment. At first glance, they looked human, or at least hominin, which was strange enough. But the real shock came when scientists dated them. These teeth were 9.7 to 10 million years old. To put that in perspective, Lucy, the famous 3.2-million-year-old human ancestor found in Africa, was thought to be part of the earliest chapter in human evolution. But these German teeth were nearly 4 times older, and that didn't fit the narrative. For decades, the scientific consensus has placed humanity's origins firmly in Africa. So, how could teeth resembling an African hominin turn up in Europe millions of years earlier? Were they from an ancient European ape that developed similar traits by coincidence? Or was the story of human evolution more complicated than we thought? Experts urged caution. Some said the teeth might belong to a previously unknown ape species, unrelated to humans. Others weren't so sure. But one thing was clear: these teeth shouldn't exist, not there, and not at that age. And they've sparked a quiet storm in evolutionary science ever since. Number 4. The oldest animal sperm ever found. Meanwhile, of all the things you expect to dig up in Antarctica, prehistoric sperm probably isn't on the list. But that's exactly what scientists found: fossilized sperm cells trapped inside a tiny cocoon buried in ancient seabed gravel. These belong to a type of worm known as a clitolate, a creepy little leech-like creature that used to live in the ocean. How old is it? Let's just say it beats the previous record holder by at least 10 million years. This is officially the oldest animal sperm ever discovered. The worm's method of reproduction, releasing sperm and eggs into protective cocoons over time, turned out to be the perfect way to preserve them. Like nature's Tupperware. Under powerful microscopes, scientists identified the ancient cells to be closely resembling those of modern worms that attach to crayfish. Though today, those species live only in the northern hemisphere, it's weird, it's tiny, and it could open the door to discovering even more microscopic secrets from Earth's distant past. Number 3. A 425-million-year-old shrimp with a surprise. In the early 2000s, on the other hand, scientists digging near the Anglo-Welsh border found a tiny fossilized ostracod, a shrimp-like creature from 425 million years ago. It wasn't just the age that shocked scientists. It was what the fossil still had: a perfectly preserved penis. And not just any penis, a surprisingly large one for its size. Nicknamed Old Todger by tabloids, the fossil offered something rarely seen: soft tissues, intact after nearly 500 million years. During the Silurian period, this region was covered by shallow tropical seas, and when underwater volcanic eruptions struck, creatures like this ostracod were buried fast enough to fossilize not just bones, but body parts usually lost to time. Luckily, its soft parts, including the reproductive organs, were so well preserved that researchers were able to digitally reconstruct it with 3D imaging. It's one of the oldest known examples of preserved sexual anatomy, and a reminder that nature's sense of humor goes way back. Number 2. The Adakama humanoid. In 2003, deep in Chile's arid Adakama desert, a mummified body was found that shouldn't have existed. It was just 6 inches tall, smaller than a soda can, with an elongated skull, hardened bones, and a face that looked eerily alien. Scientists and UFO hunters alike were stunned. This wasn't a fetus or a decayed animal. It had adult-like teeth. Its bones were dense, as if it had once walked upright. Some even claimed it resembled a 6-year-old child, just 6 inches tall. But how could something that size survive? They called her Ada. DNA tests brought more confusion than clarity. Ada was, in fact, human, but her genes carried 7 rare mutations affecting bone growth, none of which could explain this. Her origins were indigenous Chilean, with traces of European ancestry, but that only deepened the mystery. Was she a genetic anomaly? A child born with unknown conditions? Or something we simply don't have the tools to understand yet? Over 2 decades later, Ada still raises more questions than answers, because in the driest desert on Earth, something was found that shouldn't exist. Number 1. The Baltic Sea anomaly. And in 2011, a team of Swedish deep-sea divers called Ocean X dropped beneath the chilly waters of the Baltic Sea and surfaced with something very weird. Lying silently on the ocean floor was about a 107 feet wide stone disc that is massive, symmetrical, and eerily smooth. It looked like the Millennium Falcon had crash-landed and fossilized. Sonar scans revealed what seemed to be steps leading up its side, and the team even reported electromagnetic interference when they got close, causing some of their equipment to malfunction. And the internet had a wild field day with this. UFO hunters claimed it was clear proof of an alien spacecraft buried underwater for over 20,000 years. Some said it was part of a secret Nazi experiment, while others thought it might be the remnants of a sunken city, lost to time and tide. But geologists had their own take. They believe it's most likely a glacial deposit, which means a strange but natural formation created by retreating ice sheets at the end of the last ice age. And according to geologist Volker Bruchert, the region is full of such glacial scars. Regardless, believers aren't letting go. To this day, the Baltic Sea anomaly remains one of the ocean's most controversial mysteries. Whether it's alien tech, ancient ruins, or just ice pulling a fast one, no one knows for sure, but maybe that's the beauty of it. Not everything on Earth has an explanation. And maybe, not everything is from Earth at all. All these discoveries feel like peeling back the crust of our world and finding something else. They're reminders that we've barely scratched the surface of this planet, and every time we dig deeper, peer closer, or drop a drone where no one has dared to look, we don't just find answers, we find more questions. Because if this is what we're just now discovering, what else is hiding beneath the surface? If this one got under your skin, wait till you see what else we found in the next video. Check it out next, and don't forget to comment on your favorite entry.